about early childhood assessment and intervention. Well, joining me in the studio, we have an expert on this topic who will be telling us more about these early childhood assessment and intervention. What is it all about and what it can be done? And if you want to be part of this conversation, you can text us on 0717 424 866, or you can use our SMS number, that is 21760. Very good morning and welcome to this conversation. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
And thanks for making time. And because it's the first time that you've just come on Capuchin TV, it's good you introduce yourself to the viewer, tell them your name and what you do.
Exactly. Yes, I am Dr. Ruth Walioli, and I head a program known as Early Childhood Assessment and Intervention program. It's a master's program at Tangaza University. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And because we are talking about early childhood assessment and intervention, tell us, what do we mean by saying these terms?
Yes. Early childhood is that period of development from conception to 8 years of age. So those are the foundational years or the foundational season of a child, when their foundation is laid in the various developmental domains to enable them to make, a good progress in life. Yes.
And when did these childhood assessments begin?
Childhood assessments begin from birth up to 8 years of age. Yes, exactly.
Okay, and yes. What are some of the major domains in which development is assessed?
Yes, thank you for that question. Development in humans happens in various domains of development. Like we have cognitive domain, we have physical domain, we have socio-emotional domains, and development in these domains is what guides assessment. Because then in assessment we look at the time when there are delays in the child's development. At times also there can be trauma in the child's life, and so we get to assess those, and then after that we develop programs or other interventions that would help counter those developmental delays and all that. Yes.
Okay.
So in physical development, we find that at birth, a child, between birth and 6 months, a child is able to roll forwards and backwards. And by the time they are hitting 6 months, they are able to sit, but they will sit with support. Then at 6 months, a child will normally crawl on their belly, and then they are able to sit with, now without support, they sit independently. And then after that, most of the children will start creeping on falls, on their knees and on their hands. Then most of the children at that point, will be able to stand. But, you'll find that when you are holding them, if you hold them like infants, they will resist that and stiffen their legs because they want to stand. But then at that time, their legs are not strong enough, to hold their weight. So
sure.
A parent should support them, hold them in that standing position.
Exactly.
And then with the time, you find that those children, will be able to now stand supporting themselves on furniture and start making the first steps holding onto furniture. But then by the time they are celebrating their first birthday, that's usually within the first 12 months, this child is able to make the first 2-3 steps independently without support. And of course they will not be very stable, they will just be toddling around, but really making the first steps. Then we find that by the time the child is 18 months, they are able to walk. Most of the children are able to walk at that, at that point. But then there is also, what we call the principles of growth and development. One of which is that, growth and development does not happen uniformly. there are individual differences. Parents will agree that, you know, they can be having 2 children, but the children will attain various milestones at, you know, different times. For example, okay, according to the guidelines, you know, walking is supposed to happen at 18 months. But we find that there's some children who are early bloomers, they're able to attain that earlier, you know, than even the 18 months, and others will be delayed a bit. But now where the trick comes in is when, you know, the milestones get delayed for more than 6 months. Yeah. So if that happens, then parents, you know, are supposed to get in touch with an assessment specialist to give the interventions. And then now we left physical development at 18 months. It continues even beyond there, because we find that, you know, now at after 18 months, a child continues growing and developing, and physically now, you know, they are able to, you know, at the age of 3 years, this child is able to do a lot. They're able to walk up and down a staircase, and that's the time when they will keep climbing everything they can find. If it's a sofa, they will be there on top, not caring, you know, how they will come down, but they are just all over wanting to climb things. And they can climb stairs. That's a very important milestone. And then at 4 years, the child will is able to do much more than just climbing, you know, stairs. They can walk on a straight line. They can walk around, you know, furniture. There's a lot that they can maneuver in terms of, you know, gross motor development. And then they can also handle a ball, but they will not be able to play with it. They will not be able to throw it or catch it, but they can, you know, push it forwards. And then at the age of 5 years, children now are able to skip, I mean, to do much more. You know, they can skip, they can even, you know, balance themselves on a bar, hanging on it for a few seconds. And they can, you know, they can do many gross motor activities like, you know, playing with the ball, playing kati for our, I mean, the local games that children enjoy playing.
Sure.
Yes, so that happens until, you know, the age of 5. But after that, development still continues, depending, you know, on the environment that the child, you know, is in. They are able to progress from there. But really, those milestones at that point are very important and very key in the development of the child. Yes.
Okay, I think you've dwelled so much on the physical domain. And how is the language domain connected to these child assessments?
Exactly. Now, the language domain comes in the cognitive development.
Okay.
Yeah, because it is very key in the brain development. We find that at birth, a child doesn't have the language, but they are able to communicate. They use crying as their mode of communicating. And children, you know, cry differently. They cry, you know, when they are in pain. They will cry when they are hungry. They will cry when they are not very serious. They just need attention. And most of the of good mothers are able to know, to you know, to differentiate the kinds of cries that their baby makes, and then they are able to respond accordingly. So then after that, there is a cooing that develops at around 3 months of age. This is a time when the baby makes noises like of gurgles, you know, but that is language that is coming, and it's a very, you know, assuring milestones to parents. After gurgling, the child starts what we call babbling. This happens between 4 and 6 months. And a child will be making, you know, noises like, you know, ta 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 ta, ba 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 ba, ma 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 ma. And at that point, a child is able to respond to their names. When you call out their names, they will face you, because they most likely will be knowing their names. Of course, depending on the environment, because if a child is in an environment that is very deprived, where there is nobody who is talking to the child, they won't be knowing it. But under normal circumstances, a child at 6, you know, months is able to respond to their name. Yeah, so after that, they have what we call, patterned speech, which is usually followed by one word. They are able to utter one word. And that one word is uttered just before or around their first birthday. And surprisingly enough, it is the word daddy or Baba.
Baba mostly.
Baba, yes. And experts say that it is mainly because during babbling, they will be saying a lot of Baba, Baba. So now when it comes to uttering the word Baba, it comes in very easily. And others say that it's because they believe babies imagine that they are part and parcel of the mother. They are, themselves and the mother are one thing. So it's usually Baba who they are, like anxious to pronounce, and that's the word that comes out first. Yes, then after that, there's what we call horror face. And in the horror phrase, the children are able to mention various words that are common in their environment. And in most cases, it's important for the child to have a name that they can call, maybe the name of a sibling, and to be calling it, so often. Yes, exactly. Yeah, so it is important to have that. And the child is able to identify with someone and keep calling them when they are in need or when they just want to play or something like that. And then it is followed by what we call telegraphic speech. Telegraphic speech is a speech that happens in very short, sentences, incomplete sentences. You remember those days when we used to write telegrams and one had to go to the post office and write a very short message because it was charged according to words. A sentence that is not complete. So babies will be having those, telegraphic sentences that are very short and very brief. When they want to ask, like the mothers for milk, they will say, Mama, me, milk. To them, that's already complete, and it communicates. So that language continues until around 2 years of age. And then after that, now it continues to, to become complex. Also depending on the environment that the child is in. Yes, and then also further in cognitive development, we also have what we call object permanence, whereby we find that between the age of 4 and 6 months, a child is aware of objects that have been kept away from them. Yeah. As they see, like now, if a child is playing and you take their toy and put it under some cover, that child will try to retrieve that. That they will come and cover it and retrieve their toy. But before the age of 4 months, children don't have that capability. When something is kept away, they imagine it has either evaporated or it has, it has fizzled away somehow. But now at 4 to 6 months, they have object permanence and they are able to go looking for that item that you have, hidden somewhere under. And then also, by 6 months, now, they will now be picking any object and throwing it down for you now to come and pick it. Because they know it is still there, it has not melted away, it has not fizzled, it is that object permanence concept is still, there. And they know the item is still there, it has not gone anywhere. Yes. Okay. So that is about, a snippet about cognitive development. Okay. Yes, and then we also have perception, whereby in the first 3 weeks, the child's eyes are usually closed most of the time. But then by the 4th week, the eyes open and the children get attracted to faces, to eyes. Human eyes, so that eye contact becomes very important to them. So they will really, they'll be at that time they'll be smiling, of course, depending on the environment again. Because if there's nobody holding them, there's nobody, smiling at them, then that milestone again, can really delay. But ideally, children will be smiling and expecting that their caregiver, who in most cases now will be their mother, will be able to smile back at them. Okay. And that helps them a lot, even in terms of social development, and then again at around 6 weeks, children have develop their eyesight develops such that they are able to see objects that are near them. Yeah, so they start doing what we call tracing. So that when you pass something, an object, a light, or even your finger around it, yes, the child will turn and trace that object. That is very important in the development of a child. It confirms to a specialist that indeed the child is seeing their sight, the eyesight is okay. So during that time, you know, eye contact is very, very important, and it's important to establish that it is indeed there, because there's some children who are born with cataracts in their eyes, and you know, cataracts are even very dangerous even for adults. So if a child is not tracing, then it is time for the parents now to seek for professional, you know, guidance. When they go for assessment, then a specialist is able to test that. And of course, if it is something like cataracts, it is medical in nature, they will refer the child accordingly, so that medics can have a look at the child and plan the way forward early. Yes, so...
Because actually cataract is measured as one of the causes why people go blind.
Exactly. Yes, so they can be identified early as 4 months of age. And then the interventions now are put in place early enough, and that child now can enjoy, you know, a fruitful life, enjoying their full sight. And you can see that now without assessment, such a child would really be, you know, their sight would be in danger. So after that, what I would also want to mention is that at around 2 months, you know, children are normally attracted to bright lights, yeah, or bright objects. So that when you are wearing, you know, a well-colored, you know, dress, the child will want to come and, you know, interact with it, you know, 2 months onwards. And then it is very important to be able to expose, you know, such children to colors, and this can be done using baby books. And in this day and age, baby books are everywhere. They are very cheap on the streets. In the public libraries, the fee is usually minimal, and yet they have those books, you know, in all types. Books in terms of, you know, cardboards, made out of cardboard, so that even if the baby bangs it or decides to manipulate it in any way, it doesn't get destroyed. Others are made out of cloth. And a parent can take their time to be able to tell the baby stories, you know, showing them those pictures, or just showing them the pictures. They will love to see anything that has color. And it is the time now, you know, for parents to be able to stimulate that. Yes. Okay,
thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ruth, for that. I now understand why my nephew, you know, calls Baba Baba. It's because of the babbling.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, now tell us what is the importance of having these early childhood assessments?
Yes. Now, early childhood assessment is very key, because you find that, like I said earlier, development, you know, is, it happens at different rates for different individuals. In that there are some children, you know, okay, most of the children will attain the milestones at different, you know, times. Like now, you know, for walking, they'll be able, we anticipate that by 18 months they are able to walk. But there are some children who will walk earlier, especially when their social environment is very rich. When they have other siblings, they will want to run after those siblings, and, you know, and sooner than later they find they have walked, and, you know, they also realize they have legs like everyone else, and these legs can actually walk. So those children may walk earlier. Whereas for some, it may come maybe at 19 months, because really people are individuals, and children also are individuals. But then we find that, you know, a parent would be able to know when their child is delayed, when they see that, you know, other children, other peers of the same age group have attained that milestone, and their child has not attained it. Now, if the delay, because of individual differences, if the delay is prolonged for more than, for up to actually 6 months, then that parent needs to know that that is a red flag. There's a developmental delay in that kind of a child, and so there's need for the child to be assessed by an expert and interventions put in place early enough so that they are ready for life and moving forward. Yes, so early childhood assessment becomes very, very key, and we not only assess developmental delays, we also assess learning. There are some children who are just who are very delayed in terms of learning. Some of the children are totally non-leaders, like dyslexics. Yeah, so when the parent realizes that other peers, other children of the same age group, have been able to acquire those milestones and theirs is still behind and delayed, by such a long period of time, it is not good to, just watch that happen. It's important for, for such children to be taken to an assessment specialist. They'll be assessed, and interventions will be put in place, and also most of those interventions include the parents also, because the parent is a very pertinent part of the child's life. Yes. Okay,
and you've just mentioned a term called red flag, and I'm sure it's connected with the question that I'm about to ask you. Yes. What are some of the methods used to have these child assessments?
Yes, child assessment will use methods that are standard, like we have standardized instruments that are used to assess the the developmental status of a child. And in Tangaza, we have already put up a laboratory that has all those standardized instruments that are used to measure or rather to check the developmental status of the child.
Okay.
Then apart from those standardized ones, we also have non-standardized approaches which really may not require instruments in a laboratory. Like we have observation checklists.
Exactly.
Yeah, which can now be structured depending on the the issue that is being handled. So questions are, rather a checklist is designed that will help the assessment specialist be able to pick all those developmental, highlights, about the child, and be able to, to like come out with, very clearly with the information about what is causing this developmental delay, or what is making this child not be able to read when others are, their peers are already at that level. We also use portfolios, because sometimes you realize that even after you have done, the standardized, tests, and maybe you have done some observation, you realize that you also need to look at, what the teacher has. Because you realize that in the early years, more often than not, teachers who teach early learners will be having a portfolio of the activities that the child has been doing. So therefore, a specialist would want to to touch base with those kind of records. They will book an appointment in school and go and have a look at the child's portfolio, and see how the child has been progressing. See the school setup, probably talk to the teacher, and therefore get enough information about, that will inform why this developmental delay is there. We also do interview schedules, that again would guide an interview, like with a parent, about how this problem started, the history of the child, and all that kind of thing. Yes.
Okay, and thank you so much, Dr. Ruth. And what are some of the types used for these assessment childhood system?
The types of the standardized instruments?
Yes.
Yes, we have instruments like the Griffiths version 3, that is already contextualized. It's contextualized in the Kenyan setup. And this one is able to assess the holistic or rather the comprehensive development of the child, right from learning, how their learning is progressing, to their physical development, their cognitive functioning, their language, and their socio-emotional development. It's able to assess all those areas, and you realize that there are some instances when follow-up is very necessary after the interventions have been given. Depending on the case, sometimes there can be need to be able to follow up maybe after 1 year or 2 to find out how this child is faring. So when a psychometric like the Griffiths 3 is used, we are able now to, because we have the records of the first assessment, we are now able to again check, do another assessment and now compare the two and see where the child is in terms of regaining the milestones that had been lost, or regaining their cognitive functioning and all that. So really psychometrics have a very key and important role in child assessment. And like I said, we have a laboratory for that.
In Tangaza?
Exactly, in Tangaza University College.
Okay.
And then we also have the ADOS that we use for assessing children who have autism. Autism is a big problem in the community, and we have such kind of standardized instruments that are able to tell us the levels, and then the interventions are structured, following what the assessments have been able to show. Yes.
And that tells us why they should come in Tangaza University College, of which you'll be giving us the details before we wind up on this topic.
Yes.
So before we go to that, tell us how parents can they be involved into this child assessment process?
Yes, thank you so much for that question. You realize that parents actually, if I may use the words of one of the Ministry of Education officials who said that, parents are timeless teachers. They're the teachers who will be with this child and have been with this child for life, because the parent is the one who was there teaching this child language, reinforcing the babbling, and therefore enabling the child to utter the first words very fast. They're the ones who toilet train this child. They're the ones who teach this child how to dress. So they are teachers who have been there and who will be there with this child for life. Even after the school years are over, the parent continues to be a parent to this child. And so they play a very important role, and especially in those instances where there are developmental delays, the parent will need to really work hand in hand with the teacher. It works so well when the parent cooperates, and when they realize how integral and how important they are in the life of the child. And so even for assessment, like children don't consent here. They are under the age of 18, and even as we do our assessments, we are covered by the Children's Act. We operate within the confines of the Children's Act, because children have their rights, and they have, the parent has to consent that, they have allowed a specialist to be able to assess their child and be able to give intervention. So the parent is key. And when they come in, when they give the support that is needed, then the holistic development of the child can be attained very easily, and the child is able to sail through even their school years with a lot of ease. Yes, so the parents are key. They are key. We need them at every level.
Okay.
Yes.
Amazing. And now, as we wind up, I can see that we have a brochure here, and I can see you have an intake that will be that is ongoing actually. Now, tell us about this enrollment.
Yes. So we are offering an MSc in early childhood assessment and intervention, like you can see in the poster. And this MSc program is open to students who have a bachelor's in pediatrics, early childhood development, in special needs, as well as in psychology. And also, if one has a background that that has some omissions, or rather it is not very complete, we are able to give them extra courses that will prerequisites that will enable them to catch up with others, and therefore be able to start the MSc in early childhood, assessment and intervention. So for this very first group, we are offering a discount of 10% of the fees.
That's so good.
Yes, the intake is open, and really we are really looking forward to enrolling students and helping them be able to get competencies and skills so that they can, be able to participate in child assessment and in providing, interventions for children who are found to be, to be having delays. Yes.
And you talked about the intake. If one would want to enroll with Tangaza University College as MSc is concerned, how can they do this?
Yes, so they can visit our Tangaza website, Tangaza University College website, and they'll be able to get details there. Yes, and then the moment they get in touch with us, we shall be able to pick it up from there, look at what they have, how their qualifications look like, and then be able to guide them, on the way forward accordingly.
Okay.
Yes.
And can one come to the institution that is Tangaza University College for some inquiries?
Oh yes. They're most welcome. We have a whole office. As you enter, the reception is there, and over there you'll be guided to how you can get to the IYS, the Institute of Youth Studies. It is the institute that is housing the MSc in early childhood assessment and intervention. And over there you will receive all the guidance that you need, and you will find me there.
Okay, so they can visit the office from Monday to Saturday, or?
Yes, Monday to Saturday we are there.
From what time?
Well, from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. in the evening, but then on Saturdays we close by 2 p.m.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And with that, I think we will be coming to an end of our conversation today, that is early childhood assessment and intervention.
Yes.
But before I do that, I'm sure you have something to talk to our viewer, your parting shot.
Yes, I would want to encourage parents to kindly, also, take care of how children attain milestones. Let them be, be careful and, to know whether the child has attained a milestone or they haven't. And if there's a lapse of those 6 months of the child, the milestone still not coming forth, it is important for them to seek, for help from an assessment specialist, and your child will be assessed and given the needed interventions. I'd also encourage parents to not to expose children to too much of television viewing. It is very important for for growing up children to be able to explore their environment. Let them be able to know who is at home. Is it dad, mom? If they are siblings, what are their names? What are the different rooms at home? The furniture. In the evening, take them for a walk. Let them see the trees. Let them hear the birds in the trees. Let them see the birds if they can see them. Let them, see the different animals that are in the community, dogs, cats. Let them know the difference. This is a time that is very, very important for children to explore and run from the environment. Let them not run from the TV. Please don't expose children to too much TV viewing, because it dulls down their mind, their cognitive development, their brain development slows down, because with the TV they are just watching pictures just being flashed, and sometimes the pictures that are flashing are not even at the child's developmental level, and they can't understand what is happening, and they keep believing everything they are seeing. Like, for instance, they'll be watching the bananas dancing, and a child will just believe it, that bananas dance. Yeah? They'll be looking at cows that are talking, in the cartoons, and they believe that is how cows are supposed to be behaving. When they will come to, to be taught now about plant growth, parts of an animal, colors of an animal, they'll be telling the teacher about the pink goat, because that is what they saw in the cartoons, which really doesn't help a child. They get so disillusioned. So please, for purposes of their cognitive and their mental well-being, let us withdraw the TV as much as possible, especially when children are below the age of 2 years. Let them interact with you as a parent. Take time with them. We know that in this, in the 21st century, the parent is a very busy person because maybe of the status of the economy. But even then, spare time and take time to talk to the child, smile at the child, read storybooks to them, let them see pictures, and their development should be able to pick up well moving forward.
Wow.
Yes, thank you.
That's so good. And I might agree or disagree with you. As much as you're saying it's the TV, also the parents are giving the children having, you know, the mobile phones. Anyway,
you're right.
You know, we'll talk about that maybe some other time.
Yes.
But thank you so much for making time and coming to share to our viewers about all these early childhood assessment and intervention. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes. And with that is Dr. Ruth Walioli from Tangaza University College, who is the program leader MSc in early childhood assessment and intervention. Thank you so much for tuning in to Capuchin TV. And as I wind up, I want to give you a quote by Johanna Wolfgang. That is, if children grew up according to early indication, we should have nothing but geniuses. That's what I'll just wind up with this conversation, and wishing you a good day, and may God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, my first day in a TV station. Oh, God.
How was it? That was so good. Capuchin TV, your Catholic broadcasting ministry.
Amri za Mungu. Ndimi Bwana Mungu wako. Usiabudu miungu wengine. Usilitaje bure jina la Mungu wako. Shika kitakatifu siku ya Mungu. Waheshimu baba na mama, upate miaka mingi na heri duniani. Usiue. Usizini. Usiibe. Usiseme uongo. Usitamani mwanamke asiye mke wako. Usitamani mali ya mtu mwingine. Amri za Mungu.
Kupata
amri za Mungu.
Kama sikiza tune yako, bonyeza neno sikiza likifuatwa na nambari 738 10251.